The 1970s were both a turbulent and creatively important time for Elmore Leonard. There was a divorce after 28 years of marriage and a bout with alcoholism. He needed 4 years with AA to kick it and still remembers his last drink.
January 24th, 77, and it was scotch and Verner's ginger ale.
In '79, he married Joan Shepard, who would soon be reading and offering comments on his work in progress. Dutch credited her with helping him develop stronger female characters. He's always had a close relationship with his 5 children, and his 2 daughters were in his audience at Borders on this night, along with one of his 9 grandchildren.
I started out with Hemingway. Hemingway was it. Hemingway, you know why? Because there was so much white space on his pages, because of short dialogue, short paragraphs.
Along with Hemingway's spare, direct style, Dutch says he was influenced by the easy humor and working-class characters of Richard Bissell, a writer popular in the 50s. You write crime stories and not mysteries.
Right.
So people don't turn the pages to find out who done it because you tell them.
Right.
So why do readers turn your pages so compulsively?
Because they want to know what's going to happen, because there's always something along the way is going to happen. I think I know how to keep people reading, turning pages, and I think one of the main ways is to leave out the parts that readers skip.
That's the most famous of Elmore Leonard's 10 rules of writing. Try to leave out the part that readers tend to skip. The others, from never open a book with weather to don't go into great detail describing places and things, often come down to keeping it simple and unpretentious. Let me ask you about this last rule, the one that sums up the 10. If it sounds like writing, I rewrite it.
Yes.
How do you determine if it sounds like writing?
Upon entering the room, so-and-so discovered, you know, the way we were taught to write in school, English composition, that can get in the way.
Humor, sometimes sly, often unexpected, somehow emerges naturally from the dark details of Dutch's characters and their plight.
Chris Mankowski's last day on the job, 2 in the afternoon, 2 hours to go, he got a call to dispose of a bomb. What happened? A guy by the name of Booker, a 25-year-old super dude, twice convicted felon, was in his jacuzzi when the phone rang.
Once Booker finally gets out of his jacuzzi and picks up the phone, his woman, Moselle, tells him he has to sit down to receive her news. And when he's seated in his green leather chair,
Moselle's voice said, "I'm supposed to tell you that when you get up, honey, what's left of your ass is going to go clear through the ceiling."
And another hallmark of his style is a shifting point of view. You may be inside the mind of a cop on one page and get a criminal's perspective on the next.
Paragraphs.
And of course, he loves dialogue.
I like to keep it alive that way, with the characters talking to each other. The dialogue describes who they are, the way they talk, their attitudes.
The result of that style is that the author disappears.
Exactly, and that's my purpose, to stay out of it.
Starting with a character or 2, Dutch says he puts them in different situations to see if their talk is interesting enough to carry a story. From there, the process is akin to jazz improvisation, letting the characters take him where they will. In a 350-page manuscript, he won't even think about the end until page 300. But where do the characters come from?
My researcher, Greg Sutter, shows me a photograph in the news of 2 federal marshals standing in front of the federal courthouse in Miami, and the woman, who is, I thought, attractive, is holding a shotgun with the stock on her hip. And she has kind of a hip cock pose, and I thought, that's a book. She's a book. And she became out of sight. She was Karen Cisco.
Did you say your researcher is here?
Yes. Where is you? Greg? Oh, there he is, back there.
25 years ago, Eastside Detroiter Greg Sutter wrote a piece on Elmore for Monthly Detroit magazine. Later, Dutch called him up to ask if he'd like to do some research for him. Greg jumped at the chance and he's been working with him ever since. His first big out-of-town assignment was in Atlantic City for Glitz.
I talked to the cops. I drove around Upseekin Island, where Atlantic City is, took a lot of pictures, labeled the pictures. And then of course, he would follow up on that. I mean, he wouldn't just rely on, you know, that work. He would go there himself. But when he went there, he could hone in on a specific thing. He didn't have to do all that broad sweep, you know, which is what I did.
Greg has done the same kind of thing for each of the 20-some books since, and has helped the stories move to places like California, Mississippi, and Africa. 13 years ago, when his wife Joan passed away from cancer, Dutch was devastated and had thoughts of retiring. In the spring, he hired a landscape crew to redo his backyard. And this woman, ducking under our camera, arrived as the master gardener.
Christine.
Divorced from a stage actor, Christine loved Elmore's novels. And during the crew's weekly visits that spring, the two would occasionally have friendly conversations by the flower beds. Then one evening in June, she received a call.
He said, "This is Elmore Leonard calling." And I said, "Oh, Mr. Leonard, is there something wrong with the beds?" And he said, "No. I just would like to ask you if you would like to go on a date with me." And I said, "Oh, okay, you know, sure, you know." So we went out to dinner, and we had a really nice time, and we talked, and, you know, it was really great. And so that's kind of it. It all kind of snowballed from there.
Faced with a worldwide book tour in August, Dutch decided to marry Christine and bring her along. Still, there was nearly a quarter-century difference in their ages.
I said, "Listen, if this doesn't work, you know, I'm walking away, and you can walk away, and that'll be it, because I really can't be married to anyone I don't really love, you know." So it managed to really work out to everyone's surprise, I must say. I think we had a lot of people betting on us not lasting too long, but we did.
When we return, what's ahead for Elmore Leonard? Here's a hint: don't bet on retirement.